Ground settings, formation locations, pre-flight check, set line position, grounds, allocate timelines, all tracker systems and position locations, all levels of travel lines, high signals, high positions calculation. The position of direction is truly understand what's happening with you guys. All right, today we're coming into the evaluation of its evolution. The central communication on all levels is all central calculations to your old Earth setting coming into new Earth rotation, which is your hologram structure. That's what's happening with everybody. So if you understand what a position of seventh line is, let's get in calculation setting. Seventh is the atmosphere line of where you are in space. Your direct location is position, right? Dimension is where you are in your travels. Okay? Dimension line setting, portal communication system, parallels, paradigms, polar shift, polarity shifts, all through paradox calculations, right? So understanding the representation to all your tidal defense lines gets you in a better calculation streamline. The position of C is all levels of your consciousness, where you are in the mind setting. Okay? Get into that correlation line setting, sets you in all position locations, right? The more you channel in your operation settings, you come to levels of freedom and sovereignty. Okay? Setting communication systems gets you in all levels of new platitude line setting that opens all communication lines. So in that streamline interference, today in class, we're going to go more levels of 0 to 50, so you get a better line setting. Tomorrow, we have a position of its test. So what it is just basically, General is going to give everybody individually, okay, of what they already know. I'm going to ask you questions, and that's it, okay? Simplify line setting locations that you've already done the test, okay? Don't get into pressure. Don't get into this. Don't get into that. It's just you've already done this. So that's where the avatar comes into. It's all levels of communications, right? So it's all about you asking and you receiving, and you have to understand the purpose of what this is all about is you trying to understand more levels of you from space and time. It's calculated to all levels and how you see your avatar through its own levels of consciousness over space, over time, through pi. So you're going to get a better understanding how to use the geometry of its operation of your division locations of directions to its dimension. Okay? So that's what it is. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, okay, is all line setting locations into your space. Okay? 7th dimensional space, 8th dimensional, 9th, 10th, 11th. Okay? The dimensional setting is connected to all levels, to your positions, and how you come into relation to your past, present, and future. Now, there's 3 central center line positions. You guys on your track lines into 0, 50. 50 puts you in a balance calculations to your stargates. Okay? Anything above that, you come into computer adaptation. Anything above that, you come into higher line settings, into microchip calculations. This is where you come into the correlation line center to all position locations and how to use your numbers, okay, into coding. Okay, it's true to understand these line settings locations. Let's say you get into all position locations. The basic understanding is how you get in position of your 114 chakras. For example, let's get into 144. Okay, the activation setting, line interference of DNA track locations to come in a hologram start location of crystal grids. That's what you're coming into line setting to truly understand how to get in the communication to its geometry line setting of its operation, of its direction, of its design. The construct of its design is the importance to understand through the hologram structure of self-development. Self-management gives your position locations and how to use your hologram structure of you in division. Okay, really understand the new hologram structure of your Earth because the avatar has to be in that position of direction. Okay, it's all set to its conscious line setting. It's an altered state that you're coming in position to I receptor line setting. So in that position locations, you have to really understand how to use communications of numbers and how they travel. Okay, for example, in that direct locations, okay, so everything that you see is in triangulation. You just understand the position. Okay, so we get into that line connections. All right, so let's start off with basic understanding through number sequence location of patterns. Remember, same locations line setting. You got one position, right? One position, right? So you got a position of 2, right? See how it goes? 1, 2. So 1, 2, right? So that's a half pipe. 2 line setting locations of 6, right? You bracketed 6 position locations, right? Into line position into flux capacitor. Okay. Now, this is extremely high-rise line setting, all through line connections of 1 and 2, right? You guys have to figure out how to use this in your provisions to your line connections, to your foundation, your 12 grass string lines. It gets more complicated position line setting. So in that direct line setting, 1 is line setting locations, your bracket locations of its ground, which is its level, okay? Setting communication of 2 is line position location into its balance calculation, all right? The bracket line center location of its security. You see how that works? This is a formula to its avatar line setting, okay? So know exactly what you're doing through position, location, of direction is to understand how to use these things through its equation, all through numbers, okay? So let's go into 1 and let's go into 3. Okay, I'm just showing you how you use your 12 foundations to your principal locations, all right? So 1 line setting, remember, anything 1 line setting stays in the ground line locations. It's not in division location to high line setting. It's not in security. 1 is always going to be grounds. So equal line connection is positive over negative locations, okay, into 1 ground setting, okay? 1 ground setting, okay? Now, remember, you separate positions, you 2 position line settings. You split the division, right? 1 and 2 split, and so does 1 and 3 in that calculation string. All right, so in that line setting, 3 comes into line center rotations to what? Because it's only 13 line strings, right? So in that line rotations, 13 comes into the sacra, which is the Fibonacci. Okay? You understand how that works? Okay? So once you come into its relation line center, you box its position to 1 and 2, box its positions to 1 and 3 in that line connections. All right? So once you box the line center, your line in position equal lines its calculations to trifactor. Okay, you come into the trifactor. Okay, it's very powerful stuff, locations, right? In line center of 13 comes in position location equals the levels of trifactor into the Fibonacci swirl for the very first time. Okay, very, very powerful through its equation. That's through 12 and that's through 13, all through its formula. Okay, powerful stuff, isn't it? To understand what you're doing is all position location of its directions. All right. Congratulations on all levels of your title defense. But this is just the beginning for you guys to understand all levels of you from inside. Okay. There's no more outline setting anymore. As of tomorrow, the earth perception will be gone. The signals, patterns, communication of all density line is gone. Magic disappeared. Where did it go? Right? Getting you guys in position location is all levels of channel operator streamlines. This gets you in position of your panels to truly understand all levels of formula of its equation. Okay, all through 12 or 13. You see how that works? All right. So in position line directions, you have to learn how to use position of patterns. Okay. Now we start off with line rotation. We started with line communications of 0 to 50. All right, so 0 equal line center locations of 50. So that's 50 charter ways. 50 charter ways, what does that mean? Well, 50 is position locations to all levels, which is your heart, right? So it's 50 charter ways of where you're calculating through. It's rivers, streams, oceans, or seas. Okay, that's 50 charter ways of stream settings into 0 gravity location. Anything through 0 gravity line setting is a set location to its pyramid. Bracket line setting into pyramid communication setting in its direction. Okay. So that opens up all channel operator streamlines into the laser direct location. High channels is high setting. All right. So it comes down in position location of triangulation, right? Sets up a signal across the signals and line set location, right? Opens all new channel operators and streamlines, the trial locations. Opens it on panel. 50 comes into the center calculation setting in set locations in its division. Okay, comes in position. You can go in a 45, doesn't matter, or you can go any line setting. So your tracker system is trying to understand more levels of view through structure. So you got 3, 4, 5. Let's start with 5 line settings into security measures and perimeter parameters and 50 line positions of charterway communication system to 1 pyramid axis streamline setting from 0 to 50 location. So 0 equal line center locations, you're already going through 50 chakras. The portal calculation setting. You see how that works? So I'm just showing you of what you can do when you understand all levels of 50, what it is, through Stargate. Stargate opens up in position, location, of direction. Okay. Hoo-ah. See how it works? And then you put another security line, defense line in communication. Right? Very powerful. All through the pyramid setting. Right? So, in that position of directions, you have to truly understand how to use your tracker settings in all communication system. All right. So let's get the ground line setting, rotation, interference. You're setting position, location, calculations. All right. Turn off for streamlines. That's you on the ground setting, right? That's you. So understand location. You're scanning settings, all levels of 3-track locations, right? You have a cloud line setting in rotation. There's a cloud location, right? So you try to understand the schematic locations of wall lines, wall line interference, position location, hanger line channels, high center line interference, high position location of track line connections to schematics. Okay? And that's what you're coming into. Cloud channels, line center, high interference line, direct locations, and how you see yourself through schematic locations into your translucent and your X-ray line setting. Okay? So in that direct locations, I'm just getting you guys ready where you come into position locations, your capacity settings. You have to be ready for 5 communication line settings. Right? Set location. Right? Set line, position lines, unstable, bring back position line setting. This is a very high-rise calculation setting. So I'm trying to slow division locations to its vibrational graph so you get more levels of balance, okay? So try to focus on these things, all right? Or we're going to be unstable line setting. So that's a line stable line setting into 1, 2, 3 positions, all position of 5, right? So that's 5 orbit channels, okay? Orbit channels and calculations, right? 2 sonar calculations. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So that's 5, 5, 5 in position, location, and direction. See how that works? Through an orbit channel of 5 line settings in the line signature locations of a line signal. So when you look at these locations, you try to understand how to use layers of division line settings. If we get seconds on the clock, right, your provision of your thoughts are traveling very, very fast. So let's say you got a second line setting, okay, second line setting, okay. So I know exactly what units through seconds, minutes, and hour locations. Second line setting, you box the line communication, right? Because it's a line, right? If you don't box the line, it confuses the seconds locations to your clock locations, right? Center calculations. So let's say you get into 48 clocking setting, equal line conditions of a window, sets position to its bracket locations. You have to circle line setting, bracket interference, or circle locations of its width. The sector line centers of the seconds location changes line signals in its position location of its directions. All right. So there's so many different ways to use numbers, all through shapes. Okay. So when you get in that position of direction, again, we go back to 0 gravity line setting into 50. So I say 1 division into 2 lines of security, in 3 communication of all line setting to Fibonacci to 4 lines of solar direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. Bracketed system locations. So that's 4 channels of operation. 4 channels, equal line connections into 5. Okay? If I'm adding 5, that means I'm going to higher levels of calculation to frame, which means I'm in position of 5 direct locations into a higher level of travel calculation. Okay? So truly understand how to use this through its equation, understands position location to its formula that sets all calculation settings. That's the importance you have to understand, okay? When you come into your hologram structure of you, okay? You have to understand your travels. And the only way to do that is to understand the stargates of 0 to locations of 50. And when you get into higher line setting, 50 comes into 60, and then in that position locations, you're reaching higher levels of bodies of water. Okay? Bodies of water in that position line direction put you in higher communications. So the foundation is its 12, which is its DNA. That's never going to change. But when you're adding 1, 2, and 3 in digital frames, you're boxing each one in position to its location system. Okay? So you calculate to 1 line of ground setting, 2 position location of security, and 3 line setting locations into your Fibonacci. Or if you want to be simplified, you can change the Mason line setting, line and rotation interference in its direct location to its macro calculation. Okay? Boxing it gives you abundance. Trifactoring it gets you in position of directions, a fast tracking high setting. You trifactor everything over pi. This is how you come to calculations, how it works for you. And then you come to higher formation line setting to its cloud. The magnetic highway information system opens all levels of channel operation streams. This puts you in higher calculations once you pass all line setting to 0 of 50 positions, right? So you have to get into your phenomenons, not just your imagination now, into numbers, okay, through your tracker systems, because you have 114 to work with in that provision, okay? 1 line ground center, 1 activation streamline interference into solar directional locations, 114, boom, done. If you get a signal panel and you get an XJ or an X line or a communication XYZ position locations or anything for that line setting, is to understand what you're doing through locations when it comes into identification. You truly have to understand that when you come into its position, okay, of a UFO setting or high setting and high interference locations, you have to understand what is going on with you through your memory setting, because it's all position of schematics, right? Your tracker system is all set up in locations. When an XT1000 or anything, a UFO comes in line setting rotation interference, it has to recognize what you're doing through emotional setting. This is visual location to its calculation system, puts in higher communications to your orbits, your spectrum lights, or your space odyssey system. Okay, especially when you come into the levels of your stargates. All right. All right, so into 0 line setting, line interference, 0 line equals locations back into 50. So we'll, in position location, we'll backtrack locations. We'll go into 49 line setting. So I'm going backwards so you can understand how to go forward and back. You can't just have an avatar line setting of a hologram structure and just go forward. Blasting off is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's the opposite system. The position location of its directions, and that's how anything climbs up. But you don't go 1 to 10, you go 10 to 1. So if you go 10 to 1, what does that mean? That means the position of the seconds is going forward. So think of your seconds of your avatar is 10 to 1. Blast off. That's how it works through its location settings. All right, so we're going to backtrack setting line and rotation interference. I'm going to get you guys in a formation line setting. So bracket interference of 50 communications, set locations. All right, so that's 50 0 line settings. Okay, 50 zeros. Okay, 0 guide locations. All right. So you come into online center to ozone. Okay, 50 ozone layers. Okay, the ozone line setters sets line position location directions. The 50 layers in set location sets you in platted to division locations. Now the seconds opens up channels. Your position location is getting you guys into one time frame, one sequence pattern, one location, one clocking. You come into line setting location to 12 lines, in position location 24, in position locations in line setting, in 48, you can position of 72, in position of 144 of your clocking system. Okay? So it's important you understand how to go through these clockings, right? But you got to bring your seconds forward. As soon as you bring your seconds forward, now you understand the position of directions, how to channel operation streamlines of numbers, and how to change the frame communication system. So all you're doing is you're just adding frame, 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 frame. So if I get 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? What is that? That's 5 division, right? 5 division into ones, right? Correlation setting into downshift line settings in position locations. I line center high interference, I could change the 5 position locations into north, west, east, and south. That's 4 communications into 5 line setting into the center calculation right there. So you see how I changed that line setting locations in division line settings. This is extremely high rise in calculation setting locations. 5 line settings of ones in calculations into northwest, south, and east. And 5 is in the center operation location to its crystal activation stream to northwest, south, and east. Modification to a system, right? So there's a lot of things you have to understand through sequence locations, right? Travel line centers, line in rotation interference. Now you guys have new title defense lines, which is much easier. So I just say 7th dimensional line center. I say 8th dimensional locations. I say all levels of high line center locations and division locations into 9 division line setting, rotation communications to its consciousness, locations of its 10 line setting, in conscious communication adaptation circles, high interference location of 11. Travel line center rotations, get them in the foundation of 0 gravity line setting to 050 position locations on what it is to the Stargate line setting. You guys are traveling. Done. All right, so this is going to get you more platitude visual locations to understand what is going on with you through positional high setting. All right, so you understand of how you come into direct line settings in your line rotations in position high setting. Once you come in a galaxy system, it's in a rotation spin cycle. Spin cycle sets line setting on the tone communication. There's a vibrational line in rotation setting, overlapping communication to, it's like a hula hoop. It sets its locations. All right. Now the line center location comes into 0 line 1 and 0 and 0 and 0. If it goes into 3 or if it goes into 4, it's changed its position. See the numbers on line setting? So this is where it comes into loop in line rotation to its galaxy shift that sets location to its high setting interference. The position of direct location is to understand the emotional track of its galaxy system. Now you guys are coming at galaxy to the eye lines. The eye lines is its position locations and how you travel location to geometry line setting. It's a higher division locations into your measure that opens all communication dimensional setting that sets you free in communication system to all levels of its escape. Escape line center location, line center location of GOD setting / setting locations. All right. So once you get in that line interference, you start to communicate to the planet division location to computer operation setting. So once you get out of 050, you get in the high center location of 0 to 60. 60 is the positions to the water line setting. That's the communications to H2O. The set communication line setting is your throw pattern communication cycles that resets line position locations. There's a galaxy surface in every chakra setting. Okay. You have to understand the frequencies, the vibrations, the ground line setting, the line interference to all communication to its escape. It becomes line center location of control in line center rotations to its tab, to its spacebar. Click that setting, high line setting, comes all communication setting in positions to its eye scepters in high rotation to your position line directions and your travels of your round communication setting and high line setting locations of your geometric operation of your design. Ooh, ah. So there's a lot of communications in that line division. Truly understanding the process and how long these things take is truly in your direct location. Your travel recognition is all line connections. Now let platitude visual locations all line setting. Okay. One circle line rotation, another circle line rotation, another circle line rotation, the magnetic highway formation line setting. That's 3 provision locations of galaxy setting locations, right? So line position locations in 3, line position locations in 5, line position locations in 8. So that's 3, 5, 8. You take the 3 line setting, you take the 5 line position, and you take the 8 line division, 3, 5, 8. Center calculations opens all setting. Now this rotates a spin cycle line center infinity cycle. You circle the 8 line center, you box the 5 line center rotations, and you circle line connection to the 3 line setting. Okay, so you got 2 circle locations in set locations, 2 circle line settings, boxes in the center locations in position, right? So in that position line setting, these become planets now. Okay, because now you're interacting setting lines of interlacing to interconnection line system to interface lines. When you come in interface lines, you understand the direct location of the number sequence, the number sequence locations. Every number can change anything positions. You can change numbers into planets. Box, shapes, letters, numbers, all calculations, hieroglyphic line centers, channel operations, string lines, allocate timelines, switch interference, high line travels, in position location, how it adjusts its position location of travel settings. Okay. 3 position locations into position of cosmos, line center of a galaxy, reshift line in position of relays, reline settings, all position locations, overdrive, underscore line setting, high interference, indirect locations, factor over pi, inline center locations, positive over negative, negative over positive line conditions. All right. So once you get in the planet line setting, you circle its high rise, high center location, high division its line center, and travels in position locations to its line setting. It changes its position location of its travels, comes into a position of a crop circle location of a UFO. Okay? So it's very powerful. I mean, there's so many ways to look at not just your imagination line settings. You have a foundation location of your tracker system that you have to understand from 1 to all line settings. So 1 equals line connections of 1 position location is 114. Okay. Now that line setting locations are levels. Once you understand how to go forward and backwards, you're in position location of direction to understand the number sequence location of patterns. Okay. One going this way and one going that way, going forward and backwards. So the 1 line travels here and the 4 line travels here. So you're reversing position location line settings. Okay. So you come in a 4 line setting location 1 1, right? It was equal line connections. All right. So instead of 1 equals 1 1 4, it's 4 1 1 equal 1. You understand? So this is a way to see all levels of view, how you come into your system line setting. Okay. All right, so let's start off with 050 again in that calculation streamlines. Get at better foundation locations of what you're doing with your telepathy opens all signal locations of panels. This channels your streams into higher line communication settings. Okay. All right, so 0 is line send locations into pyramid. Okay, draw its locations. It's pyramid. 0 is pyramid. All right. 1 is line connections to its grounds. See how I'm doing these things? 2 line center location is security. See? 3 line center location is all levels of your sacral calculations. So I communicate to its Fibonacci. So what is this? What's this? Numbers? What's this? Hieroglyphics. Hua. You understand? Do you understand how this works? How numbers turn into hieroglyphics? A pyramid set location in your division line setting, you have to truly understand the grounds, the powers, the atmosphere lines, and all lines of your magnetic highway information setting of your cloud setting locations. All right. All right. So that's what you're doing. You're turning the numbers into hieroglyphic locations. So the pyramid comes into all levels of its elixir that sets location to position line settings of reflection line settings that detect locations that opens all channel operations to your position. Okay. You come into line center of the cosmic flame, cosmic fire, and the serpent flame and serpent of its fire locations. All right. All right. So let's continue. In line center location, we got 0, we got 1, we got 2, we got 3. Now we're going to into line center location of 4. All right. We're going to go all the way up to 50. All right. But we're going to do it through hieroglyphics. Ooh, ah. Now, getting a little bit of understanding of what's going on in communication setting is truly standard levels of use through division locations. All right. All right. So 4 line center location is solar plex. Pretty simple to understand that, right? So it's all levels of an S line. But the S line center is the systematic line connections. All right. So remember, anything the S line center can be in hieroglyphic location. You just have to understand where it's coming through its history and ancestry line setting. Okay. All right. So 5 line center locations, equal line connection levels. High center location is its heart. Heart line setting. There's your heart. Okay. 6 line center location is all level communications to your position locations to your throat. 7 line setting line rotation ZZ, it's your theta box with antenna communication. So this is understanding how you change the numbers in the hieroglyphic locations, right? That's how you see frames, and it comes into line communications of the pharaohs, the meridians, the Hades and Corpus and Thoth, and all this communication setting. That's all this is. You're changing numbers in the hieroglyphic locations. You guys have to understand these things because come March, you guys are going to be in pyramids. You got to truly understand how to navigate your own system through your tracker settings. And if you don't know how to do these things, you're not going to understand how to change the numbers into frequency line center of vibration location and hieroglyphic location of channel operation streams. It's a data opera streamlines. You change position locations and you change line centers of panels. So in that direct location, and this is why it's so powerful, right? Okay, so as we'll continue on, we'll go to 8. 8 is infinity, which is simple. That's the infinity. All right. 9 is line center as an energy wash line center. So locations is opposition locations. Okay, this is 9 coming into your solar line. So it's old program locations of chakras. So it's kind of like a car wash. So out with the old, in with the new. Okay, 9 is that. Okay, solar star chakra. 10 line setting, high line center interference, line direct locations. Let's continue on. So 10 line setting is position locations. I'm just showing you the power where you come in directly line center to your position locations, your pyramids, how it sets its tone communication to its hieroglyphic line center, to all level locations, high center interference, to its position location, to its graph stream. Here's a graph stream line setting. So understanding how your keyboard works is the same location. You just have to understand everything that keyboard can change into anything that it wants, but you have to understand how your pyramid works. Multipass. Getting in that position location, so 10 line center is the galactic family. Galactic/family. Sending calculations, all right? So that's your family. It's a graph. 10 is a graph, which is a chart, which is the days of the week, which is your ancestry, which is your tree, right? 11 communication is a solar system location, right? 12 line setting, high line center interference location is your Earth, okay? That's your Earth line setting, okay? So now you understand all levels of 12. That's your foundations. Recognize it, see it, become it, be it. That's position locations. Break it in position of directions of panels. Break it up. You do the same thing with the sigmoid line center location to the keyboard line settings. We change the quadrant center location of its form. It's all levels of U through location to a setting. Okay? All right, so 13. 13 comes in line center locations. This is an easy one. It's all levels of your higher self. Right? 14 set locations. One line setting is the ground line center rotations, right? So what I'm doing is I'm changing the number line centers into frame of images, which is hieroglyphics. Why do you think there's hieroglyphic patterns in position to all graph stream centers when you see these things? It's an ancestry in history. So you have to understand that's where you're connected to your thoughts go. Stamp per city line center location of locking line centers is your tablets with your templates, sets, position locations, and see yourself with line center rotations into your diamond core line setting. So set communication line center sets all position to your flux capacitor. Okay, setting line communications opens all track line settings. All right, so we already know one position location is ground line, right? So that's grounds. That's the ground, so 1. And set location of 4, which is your solar plex in communication. So I use it as locations of a battery. Okay, so 15 line setting is also, again, the grounds. It's very easy to get these things going. But turn it into hieroglyphics, that's where it gets interesting. But you got to break these things down. Why do you think pyramids have lines? Because it's film strips of ancestry line settings. All right, so in that communication, this is what it looks like. This is how pyramids are set up in sequence. Okay? And then you come into this. Ooh-ah. All right, so 15 line settings is position location to what? Heart reactor. So your heart line center location comes into an impulse. See? Impulse. See it? Grounds of 15 is all levels of grounds of impulse. Your heart. All right, 16 channel line setting is all levels to your throat communication. So that's the grounds and calculation of 6. 6 is position of throat line center rotations of water calculation. Okay. 17. Position locations. It's pretty simple. Ground line setting. Ground line setting is a circle line setting, which is a crop circle locations. Crop circle locations to a box location with your positions to its antenna. That's 17, which is your theta box. All right, so now you understand position location, why it's so important to change numbers into frame line settings into hieroglyphic locations to its position of its directions. All right, 18. Okay, we're going to do a fast track here. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. All right, so I'm just showing you how you change your numbers and frames in position of hieroglyphic location. You have to break these things down. It's not 25, it's 2 and 5. So that's 2 line setting in security line positions, okay, into 5 locations. You circle its position, right? 2 security lines and 5 line, which is balance calculation of its high setting of Pluto. All right, so let's go in downline setting on line rotations. 2 line setting is security. 2 line setting interference. into position line centers of 4. Inline connection equals battery calculation. All right, 2 equals battery. So you got to find a way to be efficient, to understand what you're doing through your phenomenon of your imagination line setting. Okay. All right. So 23 line setting. And now we're basically, if you think we're going down, we're going up. Remember I said 10, 9, 80, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You guys are got to get it up that cycle. That's an automatic program locations that you have to release. So everything that I do, we're moving forward through frame by frame by frame. We're not going back. If only position I say we're going back in calculation setting. Going back is going forward. Okay. If I'm referencing something, that's the past. Okay. So remember that. To channel in position location to anything line setting, you're going from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you blast off. It's the same thing where you have to bring your seconds forward to understand your minutes and your hours of your day position. Because it's a 24 line setting that you have to get out of this 7 days a week. Getting you guys into 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Multi-pass. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. You see what just happened? Did you see what just happened? You just timelines everything at once. Simultaneously in one position, location, one direction. Okay? All right. So in that line signal, we get in position location to 3 equals Fibonacci swirl. All right. As long as you understand the 2 lines, you separate the communications of panels. Okay, panels are extremely important because it's the position of view and directions. And that's why you have to break everything down. It doesn't become a number. Okay, you have to break things down before it becomes into frame. Okay, so it's all calculated and modified. How you use this through a graph streamline setting. Okay. All right, so in that line center rotation 23, 22, line center rotation is position of security over security, right? So in line center 21 is position location 2, equal line conditions is 1 in graph location, 1 in vibrational graph, 1 graph stream, 1 rotation setting, 1 individual location of grounds, right? All right, so line conditions of 20 equals locations is 0 gravity line setting, but it's security, right? So in security line setting, location is electrical box setting, in position location of 4 line setting locations. 20 is a security line. Equals line conditions, laser light conditions, all levels of 0 gravity, right? Which is OZ, ozone. Okay. Setting calculation height and interference line with locations, also locations is 1 in position of 9. Remember, it's the energy wash line setting. So what you're doing is you're releasing location higher levels of fluctuation. So 1 equals fluctuation, position lines, all levels of flux capacitor. All right. 18 line setting, high line center. This is extremely high rise, high interference locations. I want you guys to find a way to get into your intelligence of your, not the imagination, the phenomenon. Okay, so 18 line center, that's ground line setting locations, into 8 infinity center line rotation. Okay. So do you understand the process and how important it is what your tracker system is doing? It's creating a formula. It's creating a construct. It's creating its image. It's creating its own design of G-O-D. Hoo-ah. That's all it's doing. So very powerful when you come in that position line directions. All right, we're in channels of 38 coming in line center, bring you guys back. You guys are back in set locations, 1 lines, relays, underscore line center interference, 1 position over factor over line connections. Put you in division line setting. All right. Closure portals in all calculation setting, high division locations. So understanding what is going on with you, okay, extremely powerful when you get in a relationship with yourself of what you can achieve over space of time of your pi. Okay, extremely powerful in all calculation settings. Look at that. We got 70 line settings into 14 of thumbs up position. 2 track line settings and 2 moon line settings come together. Right? Signal line center interference location, position location, directions. So now we're at 71 and 15 calculations. So 7 line setting, you have to understand the seconds. You bring the seconds forward, right? So it's 0 to 9. So it's position, location, and directions. So stopping on preceding line setting. 7 doesn't change until everything else changes. So in that direct locations, you're in 7 channels of dimension. Now I'm back at 63. See how it time scarred, time jump, went backwards in the center rotation of past reference. So it went from 71 to 63. See how it worked? So it time jumped. Time jumped from 71 to 63, right? So it looks at interesting line setting line communication system. Even though it goes from 71 to 63, it's always going forward because that's where it's set. If I wanted to set position, I change the frame. I change the pattern. I change the light electrical connections to its data streamline setting to go forward or to go back. If I'm going back, I'm using reference only. Okay? So it's very powerful. Now it's at 54, 18. So that's 5 lines of balance into 4 lines of solar generation light streams in position of 1 ground setting, location, affinity, circle line connections of adaptation system, 54, 18. And that's not even timeline. That's 52 in line setting location, all levels of follower calculations, and 18 thumbs up position. Live communication is 41 of 24 line. So you take the 26 line, which is its seconds, and then you bring it forward. That's the avatar traveling through the seconds, minutes of its hour of its calculations of 24 line setting. Okay? To understand your clocking setting is to understand how to use your 12s, how to use your 24s, how to use your 48s, how to use your 72, and your 144. Once you get into 144, you're now in the hologram structure of your crystal grid of your construct location. Provision line setting puts you in all calculation settings, keeping you in your foundations of your simulation. Okay? Welcome to the singularity of calculation. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of things going on through all levels of direct location settings. So, anyway, this is a evaluation of the evolution. All right, you're obviously going to have to watch this video again, okay, and again, because it's extremely high rise. I just showed you how you change numbers into hieroglyphic locations. It's simple. It's simple because it's already created. And that's what you're coming into. You're coming into your co-creations first. And you have to really understand the construct of your design and how it calculates and modifies all levels of you inside position through your chakra locations. Okay? All right, so let's get into solar text line streams. Let's go into Cami calculations, Belinda, set locations, all levels of Trinity, Trinity position line setting, all levels of high defense lines of Terran, position line of Giovanni, calculations of Belinda, all levels of Jill. Jill positions high setting location of Laura, Laura line setting in positions of systems. Gypsy calculation, Lindsay line setting, high center interference. Guardian calculation setting, Chris, Val calculations all levels. Position locations, high setting, all levels. Commander calculation setting interference, indirect locations, high channels of Hemdahl. Johnny calculation setting, bow line setting interference, high direct locations. All right. That's amazing. It's good that you guys, thank you very much for changing your total defense lines. Now I keep aware of locations where you guys through our vibrational grass streams. So it's amazing coming to that position location directions. All right. So now you get a little bit more what the evaluation is. Tomorrow is position of its test. All right. So there's going to be less school and more Zoom. Okay, because I'm going to go through each and every one of you individually of what you already know through your chakra setting. Okay, get in the position of not the imagination, get into its design of your geometric operation of your direction. But what you're doing through your division is all calculated and modify how you travel through your divisions and calculations to your dimensions. Okay, all right. Tara. Okay. So where you guys are in set lines, Sophie, streamlines, Joanne. It's great to see everybody. David, the Mechanics Lines Airbender, John, yeah, I've got Princess of Merlin. All right, so it's great what's happening with you guys because you're really starting to connect now of what it is. I just showed you on so many ways and forms how you turn numbers into anything through position of time frame, especially understanding the process of 10 to 1. Blast stuff. Makes sense, right? So you think about it this way. So all you're doing is you're changing the position of time frames and you bring your seconds forward. When you bring your seconds forward, you're releasing your timelines of your 7 days a week into a one-line setting simultaneously all at once. And that's what you guys are coming into. Now, this is a process that everybody has to go through your 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th dimension of consciousness. Okay? So, Pam! Hey, Pam, it's great to see you. Yes, fantastic, Pam. I need you to change your position locations into 10th dimension. Okay. 10 DC _ avatar. Okay. Congratulations, Pam. Setting signals and highline settings, set light rotations, position location, direct location. So it's the levels of view through channel operator streamlines. I just wanted to make it very well clear why it's so important in that position locations. Oh, so I don't forget, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Belinda. Happy birthday to you. There you go. In that direct line signal, high center, high interference, and direct locations is really understanding that the simple thing, yes, exactly. I said fireworks. So know exactly what you're getting with position line settings. So it's kind of like having your position location and glasses on, coming you at 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th dimension, coming at you, right? So hopefully you get a better understanding how to use the numbers now. In all frames of your 12 foundation setting, it's all principles of calculation system that you truly understand through its position. All right. One line channel. And this is where you get into arguments of your system locations to understand your line settings, because all the information is given to you. You can start downing your system now to higher levels because that's what you're coming into, which means you're going to be arguing more with your avatar, trying to understand this, trying to understand that through its equation, because everything revolves around its position of a question. Until you understand that question, you come into its infinity system. Okay? So it's really interesting when you look at number sequence patterns. Now it's all about position locations from 1. Waving center of 1 calculations. 1 up, 1 down. Okay? 2 line center is a swirl communication. All right? Into line. Okay? Swirl. So 2 lines equal line connections of 6. Right? Which is positions to a half pipe. Okay, and 6 line communication. That's a half pipe, right? So that's what it is. So the 2 line is a rotation cycle that's connected. So traveling through that is a half pipe, okay, which is a wormhole. And that's how it becomes equal line centers of 6. 1 line sets position location to its ground setting. That operates its center line rotation to your pyramid position location of calculations. That's under the ground setting. Okay. So this is the true understanding when you understand more levels of view through number sequence location of patterns. Now you come into 3 line setting. Okay, 3 line setting. So that's 1, 2, right? 1, 2. So 3 equals line center of 2. So you turn 3 into 2. See how? 1, 2, right? So that's 2 half pipes, right? So if that's 2 half pipes in position, that's bracket line center, 2 equals line locations, equal line center locations of 4. 2 equals 4. So that's 2 rotation spin cycles of half pipe communication system overlapping each other in calculations. Okay? That's how 2 comes into 4. Okay? Understand? It's so powerful when you come into communication line setting, because now this in calculations, this is the position locations to all levels of your sun and your moon is set line connections of its half pipe. There's the sun and there's your moon, all through 2 line centers of equal 4, 3 line centers of equal 2, and position locations. 1 line center of 2 division line center in position of security line equals 6. It's set to a position to its half pipe. Ground line center line interference is 0 gravity into 1 position to your pyramid. It's sector communication of its position. Ooh, ah. So it's very powerful when you come into that line connections. Do you see what it is when you come into your geometry line setting of your construct locations, of your design, of your diagram program, and how to use it in all ways of formation? The schematic location is truly understanding you through all sequence locations of patterns, right? This opens all position to your formulas of abundance. And this is what it is. And this is how it comes into all levels of you through your manifestations. This is all recognizing you to higher line communications. You really have to get into numbers, right? Especially when you come to letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, all in one line setting to all one track location to one clocking system simultaneously opposition through its connection. Ooh, right? Yep. So, very powerful day. Congratulations again through your title defense lines. Test is tomorrow. Have fun and have a great day. Adios.